All right, let's dive right into this explainer, because we are looking at something truly mind-bending today. We're going to explore how ancient philosophers basically predicted our modern digital lifestyle centuries before the internet, computers, or even, electricity existed. We tend to think of our hyper-connected, stay-at-home digital lives as this totally brand new phenomenon, but as you'll see, the ancients actually had this figured out a long, long time ago.
Just think about your typical day for a second. We sit at our computers totally plugged into the web, and we accomplish this massive list of activities without ever leaving our chairs. Seriously, we watch these breathtaking films instead of going to the cinema. We execute complex financial transactions without ever rushing to a bank. We instantly shoot off messages instead of visiting a post office. We're reading vast libraries of books, chatting freely with friends across the entire globe, and admiring the beauty of the world, all from the glow of a screen. We pull so much from the world without ever stepping a single foot outside our front doors.
Now, I want you to listen to this ancient proverb. A scholar may not leave his home, yet he knows the affairs of the world. Wow! It so perfectly mirrors that exact modern reality we just talked about, and this was said centuries ago. Our modern tech has effectively turned all of us into these stay-at-home scholars. We literally know the affairs of the world without moving an inch.
But here's where it gets kind of complicated. Society is constantly telling us to hustle, right? To read thousands of books and travel thousands of miles to gain wisdom and experience. Yet, the great philosopher Lao Tzu presented this totally conflicting paradox. He argued the exact opposite. He said, the farther one travels, the less one understands. He actually believed that constantly rushing outward just yields less true understanding.
It creates a real friction in our minds, doesn't it? So which perspective is actually correct? Should we be packing our bags and traveling the globe to figure out life? Or should we be staying home and turning inward? I want you to really ponder that cognitive dissonance for a second before we reveal how the ancients resolved it.
Let's look at the flow between these two completely different mindsets. The ordinary path tells us, strive and rush outward to gain knowledge. But if you're constantly letting your thoughts rush outward, you just become trapped in the monotonous phenomena of the external world. You traverse mountains and valleys, and sure, you gain some knowledge, but it is physically and mentally exhausting. Contrast that with the way of the sage. By understanding natural laws, they can travel thousands of miles in an instant with closed eyes. They're enjoying this calm, spiritual awareness that doesn't require all that exhausting physical hustle.
To really grasp this, just consider the famous story of Bodhidharma. He's said to have faced a wall in meditation for 9 long years. 9 years! So where did he go during that time? Well, through meditation, he allowed his mind to enter a non-material realm of absolute stillness. In those deep depths of tranquility, the mind can traverse the tunnels of time and space, soaring completely free to envision limitless futures. It's a profound experience that's entirely inaccessible to those of us caught up in the constant hustle, or, let's be real, endlessly scrolling for our next dopamine hit. Okay, let's break down Lao Tzu's rule of 3, starting with principle 1, know without acting.
Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking right now. Without our TVs, our internet, our podcasts, or actively going out to see things for ourselves, wouldn't we just become ignorant? Wouldn't we be like the proverbial frog at the bottom of a well, completely unaware of the vast sky above? Honestly, it's a totally natural skepticism for any modern person who's just used to a constant feed of information. So the crucial point here is that Lao Tzu isn't talking about ordinary people staying ignorant. He's talking about sages. A sage doesn't need to micromanage or physically test everything because they inherently understand inevitable natural laws. They know that when an apple ripens, it's going to fall. They know water naturally flows downhill. The seasons will inevitably change and fish will swim in the water. They absolutely do not need to go outside to verify these absolute truths.
And what's truly fascinating is how this applies directly to human nature too. Without active spiritual cultivation, human behaviors are incredibly predictable. As this quote notes, when people are full and warm, desires naturally arise. When they are hungry and cold, desperate thoughts emerge. The sage understands these inevitable cycles of human behavior without needing to go out into the city square or, check a trending Twitter feed to watch them happen.
So, to summarize this first principle, by grasping one core concept, you can infer many others. Once you understand the fundamental essence of human nature, you don't need to exhaust yourself personally verifying every single data point. You already know the mechanics of the universe right from the comfort of your own mind.
That brings us to principle 2, see without looking.
I see more clearly when I close my eyes. It sounds kind of like a riddle, but it points to a very deep truth. Our physical eyes can be so easily deceived. Looking outward into the chaotic world often just leads to more confusion.
What we physically see right in front of us is rarely the whole truth.
This aligns perfectly with the profound Buddhist concept, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Basically, it means that what appears real, the physical form, is actually empty of permanent substance. And the unseen, the emptiness we literally cannot view with our physical eyes, well, that actually holds the true essence of reality. We really have to look past the surface level of everything we encounter, well beyond the flashy, curated images scrolling through our infinite social media feeds.
Consider calm water versus tempestuous, crashing waves. Visually, they look completely different, right? One looks peaceful, the other looks dangerous. But despite the countless surface variations, the underlying essence never changes. It is all still just water. A sage doesn't get distracted by the temporary waves, they see the eternal water beneath.
This is exactly why initial visual impressions are so often wrong. As the old saying goes, distance tests a horse's strength and time reveals a person's heart. You can't just look at a person and instantly see their true nature. True understanding requires patience and time, not just superficial looking.
In fact, relying only on what you can see can actually be a massive trap. Seeing harms the mind and cleverness obstructs one's understanding of the Tao. If you try to be superficially clever, relying only on your immediate visual judgments, like making a snap decision based on a 5-second viral video, you get caught in a web of illusions that you just cannot escape from. You miss the vast net of reality that surrounds us all.
Finally, we have Principle 3. Accomplish without doing.
Now, on the surface, this sounds absolutely crazy, right? How can you accomplish anything without action? Can you expect an autumn harvest if you haven't sown seeds in the spring? Can you get a university degree without actually going to school? Can you acquire immense wealth without working or trading? It leaves us scratching our heads in total confusion. In our modern world, we are taught time and time again that output requires input.
But upon deeper reflection, there is an unseen flow at work here. Think of the proverbs, lose in the east, gain in the west, or that famous story of the old man who loses his horse, only for it to be a massive blessing in disguise. Good fortune lurks within bad, and bad fortune lurks within good. This proves that ultimate outcomes in our lives aren't always directly tied to our forceful, direct actions. There is an unseen flow at work, completely separate from our daily grind.
When you intentionally plant flowers, they may not bloom. When you accidentally plant willows, they grow into shade. I mean, how often have you tried so hard to force an outcome and it just fails, only for something amazing to happen organically when you weren't even trying? Trusting the natural flow of life, and sometimes just taking a step back, often yields the absolute best results. So instead of a restless, envious pursuit of things you don't have, which, let's be honest, is exactly what modern social media FOMO is designed to trigger, true accomplishment comes from a totally different place. Rather than standing by the river envying the fish, it is wiser to go home and weave a net for oneself. It means retreating to find tranquility. It means allowing your vision to extend far and your heart to illuminate the true nature of things rather than just frantically grasping at the world around you. Let's bring this all together with this deeply resonant final thought from the Buddha. All conditioned phenomena are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows. It beautifully ties all three of Laozi's principles together into the ultimate realization. The material world, with all its bustle and visual noise, is essentially an illusion. The sages differ from ordinary people simply in their practice of non-action, in their ability to see past the bubbles and shadows.
Which brings us right back to you and your digital screen today. We have the entire world at our fingertips. But are you using it to constantly rush outward, exhausting your mind by chasing the illusions of the external world? Or are you ready to embrace the wisdom of the ancient sage? Are you ready to sit still, turn inward, and finally truly understand? It's a question definitely worth logging off to think about.